subtext is so important. Like we saw with Pinter, like what is going on underneath the text? What are the impulses? Like someone saying, hello, how are you? But inside they're going, you know, fuck you, I want to kill you. So I suppose that's part of the subtext as well, and that can emerge.
So it's great for a text that is very subtextual. You know, they might be talking about pints of milk, but actually they want to fuck each other or something like that. So it's finding your objective as an actor in an organic way, rather than sitting at a table and going from the top down. It's starting at the bottom and coming back up.
Subtext can be anything. It doesn't have to be normal people speaking. Subtext could be screaming and throwing objects, which doesn't actually happen on stage, but it's what might be happening underneath the text. So a lot more opportunities can happen in subtext.
I guess I've got two images in mind for Howard. One is like a diver under the sea, the treasure.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the subtext, like getting the treasure, and then swimming up, and yeah, I guess would be the image, so that idea, or underground with the roots of a tree, and then coming up and climbing up the tree trunk until you're looking out and seeing where you're wanting to steer the ship, or I'm mixing the metaphors, but that idea, that's why it's that way around, because you're going from those the urges and the more instinctual things to the way we operate, which we do kind of, I guess, put on top. If we think of the super iceberg, we're going to those things which we consciously choose to get us through something.
The subtext etude allows complete free rein for anything and everything to sort of open up, and I think that's nice at the very beginning. However, my concern that I've had with the etudes from the very start, and I still haven't sort of solved what is the best option, is how well do the actors know the script before they come into the etude phase. So as an actor, I've tried learning all my lines as well as possible prior to the etudes, and I've also tried learning none of them and seeing the difference. And certainly I think I found that learning my lines thoroughly has been more effective for me. However, the concern with that would be that the actors have then taken so much time looking at the script that they have already made decisions about how those lines are to be read, and then maybe subconsciously push that etude towards those lines being delivered in a particular way, which is then defeating the whole purpose of subtext.
I think with the discussions, they need to be one, focused on whatever the etude is about, which is really important because it can just spiral out of control. So you're right, let's talk about what emerged in terms of subtext. And number two, just sort of, analysing what the discoveries that were made. So the actors have that in their mind, they feel like they're making progress, and you know, there's a sense of, I am steering this ship, so let's just talk about it rather than just doing it and moving on, you know.
That you start big and experimental, and you start to refine and refine and refine and refine. And then hopefully you've got all of that stuff boiled into so a figure can move around in a scene and it makes sense, basically, and it's engaging because they're always trying to achieve something. There's lots of intent in every moment.
So from an actor point of view, I think it's useful because it frees you up from being intellectual at the beginning, and it just gets you into the kinesthetic, moving around, imaginative response to the work. And from a director, it's great because you're collaborating together and making those discoveries rather than talking them through. But also you've got this other layer of things that are happening where people are doing things that they wouldn't normally do if they were hampered by text. So they might, if they're responding subtextually to something, they might jump on the table, and if you see that happening, you can record that.
It sort of works twofold in that there's some really good discoveries made because it's all really raw, and as well it's just like maybe partly just getting the actors loosened up into the idea of an etude, saying, look, anything goes, just be comfortable, there's no pressure, just respond honestly to what you're doing. Which
you can use later when you're actually staging, and it allows you to go beyond a really kind of basic staging and stretch your own imagination in terms of how this scene could play out, how it could be heightened, how it could be psychologically warped. Whatever style you're trying to go for, a lot of the material that you create in the etudes can then come back in when you're actually staging.